So let's come onto the mat about a halfway back and knees apart and arms forward. So as you just sink back towards your heels, relax your shoulders, and think about sitting your hips right down onto the heels if you can. And even if it doesn't meet your heels, just imagine there's a weight there. And you can close your eyes, and if you want to rest your forehead down, you can. And breathe. And then round your back as you bring yourself forward in a cat, so your shoulders stack over your wrist. Take your hips back and your chest forward so you feel a cow position through the spine. And keeping the cow pose, set it back to your heels. Once you get to your heels, round your back, round it forward towards the cat. Go to cow, hold the cow. Go to the heels, child's pose. One more round. Cow. And back to the heels. Round forward and just stay in the forward position. So you're in a tabletop. You can come into neutral spine. With your right hand, pull the elbow back and up behind you. Thread the arm behind the wrist, getting your ear to the floor. And then just pause, using your left hand, press into the mat to see if you can roll a little bit more to the back of your right shoulder and feel more intensity in the twist of your upper back. Breathing here. And then as a total optional add-on, lift the left knee and take it up to the sky. And if you tumble out, don't worry about it. Just do the best you can. You might hold, open your toes, really lengthen. And then bring your knee to crunch in towards your rib cage. Maybe you can keep it off the floor. And then back up. Nice. Do it again. And up. Last one. And up. Hold it up. You've got it. Stretch that leg long. Feel the air. Notice the work that's happening in your hips. And then bring the knee to the floor. Press into your left hand and come back to your table. Take a pause if you want to shake the hips side to side or do a few cat-cows just to loosen it up. You can. I'm going to flip sides so my working side is facing you. Left elbow draws up and back. And then thread behind your right wrist and go all the way down until your ear's on the floor. And press your right hand into the mat. Feel the twist in your upper back. Try to notice stability through the shoulders. And then as an option, you might lift the right knee off the floor. You might take it up to the sky. And just hold it high. Notice if it feels different on this side than the other side. You could just stay here or bring the knee towards the rib cage. Try not to touch the floor if possible. And then take it all the way up. Go really long to your full length if you can. Get knee to chest. And all the way back. So I'm moving slow and with intention, trying to avoid using momentum. Last one. And open. And if you can, hold the open. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. You can come back to the floor, press into your right hand, and bring yourself to the table. And just take a moment to reset, relax through the shoulders and the hips. You can tuck your toes under and walk it out. So walk your dog. So as you walk through your feet in your down dog, Try to lift your tail and press your heels down. So even if your heels don't meet the mat, still trying to go for that action, that direction, so you get the length at the back of your calf, the back of your Achilles. It might even feel good to bend one knee and send it across your mat. So it's like you're swinging the opposite hip to the opposite corner behind you. And you might switch. And I find that swivel of the hip really helps me open up to the low back. And back to center. And walk your feet forward. Have your feet about a hip width apart. Set your hips down. Hands to heart if you can. Lift your chest. Just getting comfortable in a nice deep squat. So thinking about that sensation of your ribs and your thighs being close together. And then fold. Try to make it smooth. And again, bend the knees. Lift the chest. And fold. The last one. Lift the chest. And fold. In this forward fold position, walk your fingertips to the left. So I'm not turning my feet, I'm just arcing to the left so I feel my whole right side body fan wide. And then walk your hands to the right side of your mat so the left side of your body fans open. And then just come back in the middle. Walk your feet back to plank and pause in plank. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let the kneecaps come to the floor. Lengthen your front body like you're reaching your chest to the top of your mat and hug your elbows together as you lower to the floor. Untuck your toes, inhale, lift the chest. Relax it down. Again, inhale, lift the chest. And relax it down. Last time, inhale, lift the chest. Pause. Can you lift your hands? Pull the elbows back as you lift the hands. Press your hands into the floor and then try to straighten your arms as best you can so it's a taller cobra. And if you stretch your legs back, you might feel a little more pressed and open to the front of the hips. Hands and knees, send your hips back. Round your spine forward. Go into cow and tuck your toes. Downward facing dog. Nice. Long breath in and long breath out. Your right leg, lift it up nice and high for 3-leg dog. And then step your right foot forward to your right hand. Keep your fingertips on the mat and reach your chest forward, squaring your hips. And then stepping into your right foot, can you keep your hips low and then step your left foot near your right foot? So maybe hip width apart. So it's like you're in a mini squat. Your bum doesn't have to go much lower. And then just step it towards the lunge. Yeah. So if you have blocks, it might be helpful if you find that you're bouncing up and down. Try it again. So you have to put weight through the right leg and send it back. Yeah. Last time. And back. Pause and hold. So it should feel like you had quite a bit of work there going on in your right leg, right thigh. Left hand can come to flat and lift the right arm. Lean back through the chest, making sure that the hand to the heart is still a smooth line. Right? So you don't have the right shoulder jutting forward. And then thread that right arm towards the left wrist. seeing if you can crouch in and get that right elbow nice and tight towards the right ankle. And if you need to take more break or put the back knee on the floor, that could be an option too. We'll place the right hand in front of the foot and step the right foot back, downward facing. We'll add a flow, but if you need more rest, you can just stay in downward dog. So otherwise, forward to plank, lowering part weight or all the way, upward facing, and downward facing. And just take a moment or two and breathe. We're gonna go with the left leg now. So the left leg goes high for 3-leg dog. Try to take some air, some space, and then big step forward towards the left hand. And I like to come onto fingertips here. Otherwise, I like to come onto blocks. So I have a bit of height, right? I'm gonna be stepping forward and stepping in. And when I do that, if I don't have enough height, I'm gonna feel like I have to lift my hips and then come back down. So ideally, you can keep your hips pretty close to where they are right now. That's where the challenge comes from. So as I press into the fingers on the left foot, the right foot's gonna step to the inside of my right hand. Right, and you just pause there. And if you can do a flat back, you do a flat back. Big step back. Yeah, nice. Try to move with control and as slow as you need to. Send it back. One more. And back. Pause in the back position. Square your hips. So noticing that you're hugging the left hip back, right hip forward, arms are straight, chest is reaching. We'll place the right hand flat down on the mat and lift the left arm. Now as I lift the left arm, I can stay here or I can lean back. And as I lean back, as I find that bit of twist, right, the line from my fingertips to my heart is still a straight line. So left shoulder is not dipping forward or down. Bring the left elbow towards the inner left ankle. The left hand will come towards the right hand. It'll take a gaze to the right. Now we'll place the left hand outside of the left foot. Step it back down, dog. Maybe you flow or maybe you rest. Plank, lower, upward, and downward. Couple breaths here. Walk your feet forward towards your hands. Have your feet about a hip width, like your chair pose that you had before. And go ahead, sit. Reach your arms forward or even up. And then lower towards the floor. So if you need to put your hands down to avoid the crash landing, you put your hands down. Take your hands behind your knees. Lift your chest. Feel like you're lifted through the spine and the low back. You can keep holding with your hands. Yeah, or you can release. Depends on how you're feeling right now. And then we're gonna go down halfway. So I'm keeping my shoulder blades well off the floor. Right, if you can't straighten your legs, look to your toes. And then zip it up. You can use your hands again. You might reach forward. And go down. Let it shake. And zip it up. We got one more. Go down. And come up. And hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Put your feet down. Hands beside or behind. I'm gonna lean into my hands. So I'm turning my fingers outwards just to make it easy on the shoulders. And I'm gonna cross the right ankle over the left knee. Figure four here. Figure four. Lift the chest so your low back isn't around. And for some of us, this could be already a big challenge. And if it's really hard to even stay in the seated position, you could lie down and make it threading the needle. Otherwise, you're trying to be upright. Lift the chest. That's it. And press into your hands to bring your chest more forward if you can, so that you should start to feel a bit of challenge through the right hip. I'm guiding my right knee out to the right. Yeah. So the more I push my right knee out to the right, the more intensity I feel. If you want, you can come up higher on the hands, or you can walk your hands in closer to you if you need more intensity. And I don't need screaming pain intensity. I want you to feel at least kind of like a slow burn. Or maybe it's the first time you've held this shape today, so it doesn't have to be crazy intense. And then I'm tipping the legs to the left. Yeah, so I'm going to the left. That means the bottom of my right foot's going to meet the floor. Just going to back up a little bit. That's it. So if you find it hard to sit your bum down with the left leg tucked under, you can certainly straighten it. If you can fold it back, then keep it folded back. Depends on your comfort level. Go ahead and twist to your right and look over your right shoulder. And you can have a stop sign with the left elbow over the right knee, or you can hug the knee. Can you grow your spine taller so there's no shrugging happening through the left shoulder? Go ahead and counter twist. Nice. And we'll do the same on the other side. So you're going to sit, again, hands on the floor, beside behind you. Feet forward enough that you can get your left ankle over your knee. So if your leg is, or your right foot is placed too close, it's going to feel like a big effort to get that leg up and over. You just lower your leg, and you can always scoop the right heel closer to you. Sit up tall, thinking of lifting from the low back, chest puff. Just check in with how it feels, maybe the same, maybe different. I'm guiding my left knee out to the left. And I'm not pressing it with a hand. I'm just thinking of turning it or pressing it muscularly from the hip. And if it feels really easy, right, if it feels really good, you might even come up higher on your fingertips or walk your hands in so that you're closer. But again, remembering that it's about what you feel inside, not how close you are to your leg, that's going to dictate depth for you. I think also about grounding down through the sit bones and lifting the chest simultaneously, because that constant lengthening guides the effort to the hip. Okay, we're going to put the left foot down. So you're going to tip to the right, tip your hips to the right. And like last time, you might pull your your right heel in, or you might straighten your right leg to create your twist. And you're twisting to your left. So again, I like to hug the knee. Some of us like to take the elbow over the knee. Both are perfectly okay. Whatever makes more sense to you. And you'll look over your left shoulder. This is left foot over the right leg. And then counter twist. And then sit with your legs crossed. Okay, so more like the lower shin crossed. Yeah, and you're pulled up and in. So we're going to go forward towards a plank. And for some of us, you might be comfortable to roll into low plank or even into plank. If not, it's okay to just go forward and step it back one foot at a time. Yeah. So if you are working on your transitions, rock back, you're going to place your hands, you're going to kick, and then try to complete your flow. Great. So it's just going to be practice that's going to start to make that easier for you. Now you're in your downward facing dog. Right leg high. Big step forward to the right hand. High lunge. Arms up. When you're in high lunge, try to get upright through the torso. Notice if you're leaning forward. Warrior two. Open to the long edge of your mat. And then as you straighten your right leg, have your left heel turn in slightly, right? So your left toes are going to turn slightly out, or you can be parallel to the back edge. Start to sink into your skandasana, your skater lunge. You're going to feel a stretch through the right hamstring, right toes pointing up to the ceiling, right knee pointing up to the ceiling. You could lift your back heel, your left heel if you need to. You could have your hands on the floor if you need to. And then dig that right heel down and think of bending your right knee to bring yourself back. Turn the left heel out, warrior two. Warrior two, you're reaching to the front of your mat. That's it. And reverse. Bring your elbow towards your knee. And your left hand up. If it is in your practice to bring your hand lower to the floor or to your block, you can do that. Think about your left side body. Now, if you notice or you feel that your left ribs are popping upwards, like you're making a rainbow through your left side body, can you soften your left ribs down? Yeah, so not this, but this. If you're feeling strong, you're light through the right elbow. Look down, left hand to the floor. Outer edges of both feet, lift your right hand. Right hand to the mat, step back, down dog. Always be in rest if you need to. You can skip the flows if they don't suit you, right? Or if you're pacing yourself. We're going to repeat the same sequence on the other side. So it's going to be left leg high, three-leg dog, big step to your left hand. Place yourself for your high lunge. So take your time to come up. Right, if you need to put your back knee down first, your hands down first, that's okay. And when you're high, when you're tall, square your hips. Bend your front knee. Really lift your right heel to send you forward. Open warrior two. Straighten the front leg. Okay, turn the right toes a little bit out, so at least your foot is parallel or maybe slightly turned out. We're gonna bend the right knee, and as you do, left toes start to come up. Any depth does not have to be all the way down. Whatever you feel you can control, either hands on the floor or hands off the floor, right? More advanced, you're gonna try to find a long spine, a tall spine. Continually feeling like you're trying to bend your left knee, like you're digging the heel down and pulling it towards you to keep engagement through the left leg. We're gonna come back up. Warrior two, so you gotta turn that right heel back. Nice, nice and smooth. Reverse. Open up your whole left side, bend your left knee more maybe. And then elbow to knee. Right hand up. And going through that same checklist, can you be light on the left elbow? Can you maybe soften through the right ribs so you're not lifting them you're lengthening. So if you could imagine this spine, this dotted line from the top of your head, maybe to your inner right ankle, and you're making that line strong and diagonal and really straight. So you look down, place your right hand on the floor under your shoulder, come to the outer edges of both feet. And left hand to the floor, step back. This is where you flow or you don't flow, right? So if you're feeling good, you might come forward to plank, or halfway or all the way, upward facing, and downward facing. Again, take your time, breathe, check in. The right leg lifted up, and step forward to the right hand, put your left knee on the ground. Inhale, lift the left arm up. Use your right hand on your hip here. So the right hand is on the right hip. Left hand is tall. So we're gonna go for a twist. Either stay here, right? And you'll bring the elbow to the outside of the knee, or if you're doing a less deep twist, you'll just be hand to the knee, right arm reaches back. So again, your version. As I twist, as I bring the elbow to the outside of the knee, I'm also pushing the outer right hip down to lift the left rib up. Yeah, and that just gets me in a bit deeper. You can place the right hand on top of the left hand. And as you push down through the right hand, you look up. You lift your chest to your thumbs. If you want, you can straighten your back leg. You could also stay on your back knee. Think about your twist, wanting to maintain the amount of rotation that you have if you are straightening the back leg. As you come back to the floor, you're going to look at the floor, put your left hand down on the mat under the shoulder, lift your right arm, and you're on the outer edges of both feet again. I think about pulling the outer edges of both feet towards one another, and that really energizes the legs and makes them stronger. As an option, you might take a full plank, so taking your right foot on top of the left foot for the side plank. That's it. And then right hand down. And you can flow here or not, like to low. Upward facing and downward facing. Let's breathe. Repeat the same thing on the other side. You're going nice and slow, trying to look for the feelings that we have as we go. Making sure that we're in control. Left leg high. Left foot forward, and you step. Right knee down. Inhale, reach the right arm up, and put your left hand on your left hip. So maybe at the top of your thigh. And as I press down through the left thigh of the hip, it's going to help me twist, right? It's going to give me an anchor to twist. If you're just placing the hand to the outside of the knee, that would be your modified version. Okay, so right elbow to the outside of the knee, press the hip down and lift the right ribs. Hands meet at the heart. Maybe you gaze up over your left shoulder. Take a moment to feel the depth of your twist. Looking for length while you twist. And if on the other side it was an option to tuck the back toe under and straighten the back leg, you'll add that here, or don't worry about it. as you look down to the floor, you'll place your right hand underneath the shoulder and come onto the outer edges of the feet to lift the left hand up. Like last time, think of pulling the outer edges of your feet together or towards one another to really fire up the legs to make them feel strong. And if you stack the feet, you could also stagger your feet, come into your plank, and then we'll go left hand down. Option flow, upward, and downward. Or take a few breaths. If you're feeling like you need more rest, child's pose, tabletop, just sitting are all good options. Take the right foot halfway up the mat behind your behind your left hand in front of your left leg. So it's kind of going across and then knee down. So what I'm going to be doing is setting up a figure four. So as I set that knee and the foot down, I'm going to use the left knee to nudge the ankle a bit forward if it's available to me. Right, try not to go for an extreme angle outwards. That's going to make it just really challenging to come up. And of course, if your knee needs more padding, you can fold the edge of the mat and then bring yourself to an upright position as best you can. Now, if that knee is turned out too far, you're going to feel like you have to stick your butt out in order to balance. So that might mean you have to angle your knee more forward. Yeah, so it takes a little bit of fussing to kind of figure it out. You want to feel like you can be upright. You want to feel a little bit of hip stretch, right? As you can see from the side view here, the front of my left hip, right? So from my knee to my shoulder, it's a smooth line. If my knee was too far out and I had to reach my butt back, I wouldn't be getting that extension, right? I'd have a crease here. So I want to have that open. So reach the arms up. And then bend at the elbows with your right hand, grab your left elbow. Right? So you can hold both elbows actually, but I want to hold the left elbow in particular to give myself a little side bend to the right. And as I side bend to the right, can you press a little bit forward through your left hip and down with the left knee? Nice work. Come back up. Release the hands. Set your hips back to bring your hands towards the floor. Now, with this figure four orientation with your feet, don't lose it. Keep your left toe tucked under and see if you can press back to a downward dog where your right ankle stays at the knee. So if you can, a downward dog holding the figure four. Your bum goes up and back. So you want to press back to the thigh with the right ankle. If that feels hard, you don't have to hold it, just do what you can. And then shift forward to plank, holding that figure four as best you can. Good, and then lift it up. And one more down. Release the right leg to plank. Good job, lower half hip. Upward facing. Downward facing. Long breath in, long breath out. We'll do the same on the other side. So it's the left foot that's going to step halfway up behind your right hand. And then you'll set your knee down towards the ground. And then use the right knee to come down to the ground and maybe even nudge the ankle a bit more forward, depending on if you need to do that. Feel free to adjust as much as you need, right? Because it can be very different left to right. Walk your hands up and get yourself in a tall position. So you'll know that you're in a good place if you feel that from the right knee to the right shoulder, it's a smooth open line. Yeah, you're not sticking your bum out at all and creating a crease at the front of the right hip. Finding that, right, adjusting as you need to, arms come up. This time I'm going to grab the right elbow with the left hand. You can hold both elbows if you want, but more important to hold the right elbow. Side bend to your left. And as you do, gently press the front of your right hip forward and the right knee down into the ground. Come back to tall. Release the arms and bring them towards the ground. So you stick your hips back to find the mat. Now your right toes are tucked under, and if you're not, go ahead and tuck them under. Place your hands shoulder width apart, and you're trying your best to keep your ankle across the knee and go into downward dog with the figure four. Just lengthen, and then shift it forward to plank. Try to hold the figure four. Try to press your hips totally flat. And then back, and then forward. Back, forward, pause, and then stretch out the left leg so you're both in plank, both legs in plank. Good. Lower, upward, downward. Resting as you need. Walk your feet forward to your hands. Go ahead, lift your chest about halfway. And exhale, release, head down. Inhale, stand. And just take a moment, take a break. If you want to just hold in a mountain pose, you can. Internalize how you feel through your hips and your shoulders. Maybe you feel warm. You've built a lot of heat. So we're going to be using the elements of the figure four leg that we were working on. We've been doing a lot of planks, side planks, weight through the hands. So we're going to use that too. The goal is, as always, isn't to perform the end pose, right? But it's to kind of get the work towards it, because it's that journey, it's all the work that you do towards it, that's where your body finds the benefit, right? So go as far as you feel you can, and then you hold there, or you just repeat the work that you need to do to get to that, right? So we're going to be, so what we're doing is we're working to flying pigeon. You're going to be doing a figure four from standing. You're going to come down towards the ground, and then you're going to be working towards an arm balance. Again, don't worry about the arm balance part. Work on your hips. Or maybe you just work with that, holding that shape, and you're low with your hands on the floor, because that already is a lot, right? You're working compression, ribs to thighs. Again, that doesn't come necessarily overnight. So you're just going to do what you can. Yeah. I'm going to face the front of the mat. And I want to come about halfway or a third of the way down. So I have some space in front of me, right? I have some space in front of me. And the left leg's my anchor, or the supporting leg for now. And I'm crossing the right ankle over the left knee. So you're really familiar with the shape. Your hip is more open to it. And go ahead, start to sit. And your whole segment here, for some of us, might be just doing this balance. Your hands could be on blocks, okay? Or your hands could come towards the floor. It all just depends, again, on your mobility right now and how you're feeling. You could just work here, especially if you feel tons of stretch through your right hip, your right bum. If that's the case, you might not be able to go further, okay? So if you're going down, you want to try to hug your right toes around your left upper arm and kind of crouch. So when I crouch, my left heel lifts up, and I'm putting my hands down on the floor, thinking about almost a crow, right? So I'm really crouched in, and this is a big deal. It's already hard to get down here. And then if I do get my knee to my right tricep, I might just try to balance. And I'm not even going to necessarily straighten. You could think more about just pressing weight into the hand or opening that hip. Okay, and then wherever you are, do your best to come out The same way you went in that you're not letting go of the right ankle over knee until you're all the way tall. And then let it go. I like to walk around, shake it off, right? Try to reset your body. Nice deep breaths, head up, out of breath. It's a tiring one, right? Because you're squeezing and you don't want to be holding your breath, not squeezing in that sense, but there's a lot of effort that's happening. So for the same thing on the other side, don't be shy if you're just in your figure four and you're working on getting down, right? Obviously, there's no flying if you can't compress, if you can't get down. So it, for all of us, right, a part of that journey is getting all the parts that happened before to feel comfortable. And that's when, right, that end point starts to become more visible, more achievable, more within reach, you could even say. So we'll do the same on the other side. Make sure you have a space in front of you. Yeah. And we're going to anchor with the right leg. So the right leg is the balancing leg. If you are going down and your hands are on the floor, just feel like you're leaning, right? If you have a practice of crow, it's almost like those first times you practiced crow and you were just trying to put some weight into your hands, you're not even trying to lift your foot. That is a really good practice already, right? Just getting comfortable with the shape, the position. Otherwise, we're going ankle over knee, and you start to take a seat. And left and right side are always a whole different story. So you respect that, right? You don't have expectation that it's going to be the same. And you just do what this side tells you it wants to do. So if you are going down, you're going to place your hands on the floor. I keep my hands about a shoulder width apart, and I wrap my left toes around my upper right arm, or around the arm as best I can. When I go down, I'll have my shin against, or my knee against the left tricep. And you can come all the way down and be heel up, or you can stay high. You lean forward, and then just see if you can lift the right toe. There's a little balance as to how far you want to shift the chest. And you take your time, right? Couple tries, maybe more, maybe less. And you come out when you need, if you aren't already. And when you come out, again, try to gather yourself. See if you can come out the same way you went in. And sometimes, I find that's the hardest part, right? Trying to keep it together after my max effort. Shake it off. Big breaths. Okay, let's come to hip width apart. We'll sit. And then all the way down. Use your hands if you need to avoid the crash landing. Arms are reaching forward, and we're going to roll up and down. So if you need to take a break, you don't want to roll up and down, you can just stay at the bottom. Roll. And when you get to the bottom, if you can, go straighten the legs, or you can keep the knees bent. Inhale, arms up over your head. Good. Inhale to reach the hands to the ceiling, and exhale to continue to sit forward. Good, and roll back. And your heels will drag along the floor. But do your best to keep the heels on the floor, right? That part can be hard, right? It might feel like you really want to flip the feet up, but do your best, keep the heels on the ground. Last time to come up. And we'll go down and stay down on this one. And the bottom. Bring your feet to the sides of the mat, so like wider than hip width. And I'm going to take my arms out to the side, just so they're definitely out of my way. And I'm going to drop my knees to the right. They might not touch the floor, that's fine. And I go to the left. Really easy, really loose. Just flip-flopping. And we'll just come back in the middle and place the feet within grazing distance of the heels, or I prefer actually a little forward of grazing distance. So you're just a couple inches maybe in front of your middle finger. Feet are hip width here. Toes are pointing forward. And as you press into your feet, as you step into your feet, send your knees forward so the hips lift up for bridge. And this is a really nice counter to all that folding we were doing at the front of the hip. Right, all those squats and step-ins. And then slowly lower. And if you have blocks, it could be really nice to have the blocks under your hips to set you up and just hold there. I'm gonna add a variation. And if it doesn't suit you, then I just want you to go back to bridge, which is the pose that we just did. You could do a couple more bridges on your own, right? If you don't want to do any kind of variation. We're going to be going to bridge, and we're going to hug the elbows in and support the hips with the hands. Now, important thing here is when you tuck the elbows under, you want to go under enough, right? Not all the way to the middle if you have that mobility even, but you want to go under so that you're stacking or finding a bit of a stack through this lower arm. I keep my thumb with my fingers. That is important. I'm not opening the thumb and putting the thumb under my back with the fingers wrapping around the side. I want to keep my thumb with my fingers. So it's like I have a mitten, or not even a mitten. I have just a paddle of a hand, and it's clawing, and it's going to be hugging the outsides of my hips. So go ahead and lift your hips to the bridge. You're going to lift onto your tiptoes and nudge one elbow and the other elbow under, so that now you are supporting the lift. You can put your heels back down with the hands. And you should feel like you're in this very high lift, higher than your regular bridge, but without much work through the legs, right? And if that feels good, you can always do this on blocks as well. If it feels good, you can walk your legs out to your heels even. You can let your feet flop out. I like to keep them pointing forward, so I'm really finding more of this opening through the front of my thighs and the front of my hips. And it shouldn't feel like too much effort, right? If you're feeling that you're really struggling, then maybe you just do a bridge for now, or you use blocks. And if I can relax and soften the abdomen, I can feel a little bit more integration and this lengthening from my feet all the way to my shoulders. And of course, if you feel pressure or you need to come out sooner, you just come out when you need to, right? Don't wait for me. Everybody's going to have a slightly different ability here. It does require some chest opening and shoulder mobility to even place the hands. And of course, if you skipped it, you were just doing your bridge, taking your time with it, holding as long as you like. And whenever you're ready, you walk your feet back in, maybe lifting your heels to bring the arms out and bring the hips down. Now I'm just going to take my arms down and my legs down just to feel completely neutral and flat. If you feel like there's any intensity or you don't like this lying down flat right away, you can always have your feet on the mat, your knees tipped in. Depending on your practice, right? If there's something else you feel like you would like to do, if there's an inversion that you have to do, if there's more hip opening that you're requiring, now is a good time to squeeze that in. Otherwise, we're just going to melt into the floor, coming down into our final Shavasana, right? So you're already in this beautiful flat on your back position. If you don't like being on your back, sitting for just a moment in silent meditation can be a sweet way to end your practice as well. And as you rest, again, just feel that all that softening through the body, right, to relax, to melt down, can percolate, can seep in to your more inner layers. And by inner layers, I mean everything that you feel inside.
right? So that could be bringing a calmness or smoothness to your breath, or an awareness of your heartbeat, and just a deeper sense of awareness inside. awareness back to the body, wiggling your fingers and your toes, rotating your wrists and your ankles. Maybe moving your arms and your legs. You can stretch out your whole body and get some length. Knees towards the chest as you roll to one side, spending as much time as you'd like on your side. And when you feel ready, coming up to sit. Thank you so much for sharing your day with me. Thank you for your energy, for practicing yoga, and especially for all of your efforts. Have a wonderful rest of your day.